Hi everyone, welcome back to a new Roblox story. This time, the story is about the popular Roblox game, Dress to Impress. As always, not all of our stories are based on true events, but some are. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the story, if you dare. This story was sent by one of our listeners. For anyone asking, we are also on YouTube as RoboVlogs, and also as RoboVlogs YT. Madison had always been the best at Dress to Impress. Her friends at school knew it. Her little sister knew it. And most importantly, her 847 followers on TikTok knew it. At 15, she had reached the coveted fashion goddess rank with over 25,000 stars earned through months of dedication, creative outfits, and an almost supernatural ability to interpret themes that left other players confused. Another 5-star look, she announced to her empty bedroom, watching as her dark academia outfit scored perfectly across the board. The other players in the server had clearly recognized her superior layering technique. She'd combined the VIP corset with the free blazer, added the mysterious book accessory, and finished with the perfect scholarly pose that made her avatar look like she'd stepped out of a Gothic university. Madison's bedroom was her fashion command center. Her gaming setup faced a wall covered with DTI inspiration boards, printouts of outfit combinations, theme interpretation guides, and screenshots of her best looks. Her desk drawer contained notebook after notebook filled with outfit ideas, color coordination theories, and strategies for different server types. She took Dress to Impress very seriously. "One more round," she whispered, checking the time on her phone. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Friday night. Her parents were asleep. Her little sister Emma was staying at their grandmother's house, and Madison had the whole weekend to herself. Perfect conditions for a serious DTI session. She clicked play again and waited for the server to load. The familiar pink and white dressing room appeared on her screen, filled with the usual Friday night crowd. Madison recognized several usernames. There was Chloe, a regular competitor who always went for the obvious interpretation of themes, and Riley, whose outfits were creative, but never quite polished enough to reach the podium. The theme appeared in elegant cursive text across the top of the screen, Midnight Masquerade. Madison's eyes lit up. This was her specialty: dramatic, sophisticated themes that required cultural knowledge and artistic vision. She had exactly 325 seconds to create something magical. She sprinted her avatar through the dressing room, mentally cataloguing the pieces she needed. The VIP ball gown in deep purple, the ornate mask accessory, the elegant gloves, and the crystal heels that perfectly complemented formal wear. Madison's fingers flew across her keyboard as she navigated through the clothing sections with practiced efficiency. But something felt different tonight. As Madison moved through the dressing room, she noticed details she'd never seen before. The lighting seemed dimmer, casting longer shadows between the clothing racks. The mannequins displaying clothes appeared to turn slightly as her avatar passed, though she knew that was impossible. Mannequins in DTI were static objects. "A weird graphics glitch," she muttered, continuing to gather her outfit pieces. With 200 seconds remaining, she had everything she needed except for the perfect hairstyle. Madison guided her avatar toward Lana's salon, where the beloved nail technician would provide hair, makeup, and nail services. But as she approached the salon area, she paused. Something was wrong with Lana. The familiar NPC sat at her usual station, but instead of her typical cheerful expression, Lana's face seemed blank. Her usual welcoming smile was gone, replaced by a hollow stare that seemed to look directly through the screen at Madison. "That's definitely a glitch," Madison said aloud, though her voice sounded uncertain even to herself. She'd never seen Lana look anything other than perfectly happy and helpful. Despite the strange appearance, Madison clicked on Lana to access the hair menu. The selection screen opened normally, displaying the 105 female hairstyles available in the game. But as Madison scrolled through the options, she noticed something that made her stomach drop. At the very bottom of the hair list, below all the familiar styles she'd used hundreds of times, were 3 new options she'd never seen before. The watching eyes, long black hair that seemed to shimmer and move, midnight whispers, dark hair with strands that appeared to float, the listener, hair that changed colour as Madison watched. Must be new items from the latest update, Madison rationalised, though she was certain she'd checked the update notes just yesterday and there had been no mention of new hairstyles. Still, the Midnight Whispers style seemed perfect for her masquerade theme. She clicked on it, and immediately her avatar's appearance changed. The hairstyle was stunning. Dark waves that seemed to catch light in impossible ways, moving gently as if blown by a breeze that didn't exist in the static game world. But then, Madison heard something that made her freeze. A whisper. It was so quiet, she almost missed it, but it was definitely there. A voice, speaking words she couldn't quite understand, coming from her computer speakers. The voice was saying something in a language that sounded ancient and musical, like wind through old trees. Madison quickly muted her computer, convincing herself it was just background music from the game that she'd never noticed before. But even with the sound off, she could still hear it, faint whispers that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. With 150 seconds left on the timer, Madison forced herself to focus. She selected the elegant makeup options, chose dark nail polish to match her outfit, and arranged her avatar's pose. She decided on pose 28, the famous stance that had become a viral sensation. It seemed appropriately dramatic for a masquerade theme. As the timer counted down the final seconds, Madison felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Her outfit was perfect, sophisticated, thematic, and creative. She would definitely make the podium, possibly even take first place. The dressing phase ended, and the familiar runway music began to play. One by one, the players walked down the catwalk to present their interpretations of Midnight Masquerade. Madison watched as Chloe appeared in a predictable black dress with a simple mask, followed by Riley in a creative but mismatched combination of purple and gold. Then it was Madison's turn. Her avatar began the walk down the runway, and Madison felt her usual thrill of excitement as she watched her creation come to life under the professional lighting. The purple ball gown flowed elegantly, the mask caught the light perfectly, and the mysterious new hairstyle moved with an otherworldly grace that made her avatar look truly magical. But as her avatar reached the center of the runway, something impossible happened. The other players in the server, the ones sitting in the audience area watching the show, turned to look directly at Madison. Not at her avatar on the runway, but at her, through the screen. Their pixelated faces, which should have been focused on the runway show, were all turned toward the camera, toward her bedroom, as if they could see her sitting at her computer. Madison rubbed her eyes, certain she was imagining things. When she looked back at the screen, the audience was facing the runway normally again. But the feeling of being watched remained, crawling up her spine like cold fingers. The voting phase began, and Madison clicked through the other players' outfits, giving fair ratings as she always did. But with each outfit she voted on, the whispers in her room grew slightly louder. She could almost make out words now, her name repeated over and over in that strange musical language. When the results appeared, Madison felt a chill that had nothing to do with her air conditioning. First place, Madison, Midnight Masquerade, 5.0 stars. Second place, Unknown Player, The Watcher, 4.8 stars. Third place, another unknown, Shadows Dance, 4.7 stars. Madison stared at the results screen. She had won, which should have made her happy, but she didn't recognize the second and third place winners. She was certain those usernames hadn't been in the server during the dressing phase, and their outfits. She had never seen those outfits during the voting round. Glitch, she whispered again, but the word felt hollow and unconvincing. As the victory music played and her avatar stood on the first place podium, Madison noticed something else that made her heart race. In the background of the runway, barely visible in the shadows beyond the bright stage lights, figures were moving. Not other players. These were different somehow, darker, and they seemed to be watching the fashion show with an intensity that felt wrong. Madison clicked play again without thinking, needing to confirm that everything would return to normal in the next round. But as the new server loaded, her confidence wavered. The dressing room that appeared on her screen was not the familiar bright, cheerful space she knew so well. This version was darker, with shadows pooling in corners that had never had shadows before. The clothing racks seemed to stretch back further than usual, disappearing into dimness that shouldn't exist in the well-lit game environment. And Lana was standing instead of sitting, facing away from her station, looking directly at Madison through the screen. The theme for this round appeared. Lost in the dark. Madison's hands trembled slightly as she began to dress her avatar. The theme was unusual. Most DTI themes were positive and creative, focusing on colors, styles, or fun concepts. Lost in the Dark felt different, almost ominous. As she moved through the dressing room gathering pieces for a Gothic-inspired outfit, Madison noticed that other players seemed to be moving strangely. Instead of the usual chaotic sprint as everyone competed for the best items, the other avatars moved slowly, deliberately, in patterns that looked almost choreographed. She watched as 3 players moved in perfect synchronization toward the accessories section, their avatars turning at exactly the same moment to face the jewelry display. Another group of players stood motionless near the shoe area, not shopping for items, but simply standing in a perfect circle, facing inward. This has to be some kind of weird server, Madison told herself. Maybe it's a roleplay server or something. But she knew it wasn't. She had joined a regular server, the same type she always played on. With 200 seconds remaining, Madison focused on her outfit. She selected a flowing black dress, dark boots, and a dramatic cape that would work perfectly for the Lost in the Dark theme. She was reaching for a silver necklace when she noticed something that made her stop breathing. There, on one of the accessory mannequins, was a necklace she had never seen before. It was beautiful. A silver chain with a pendant that seemed to glow with its own inner light. The pendant was shaped like an eye, and as Madison stared at it, she could swear the eye was looking back at her. More importantly, below the necklace was a small sign that hadn't been there moments before, for Madison only. Madison's hand froze over her mouse. That was impossible. DTI didn't have personalized items or signs with player names. Everything in the game was accessible to all players equally, except for VIP items, but those were clearly marked with VIP tags. She clicked on the necklace, half expecting an error message. Instead, it equipped to her avatar immediately, and the moment it appeared around her character's neck, the whispers in her room suddenly became crystal clear. "Welcome to the real game, Madison." The voice was coming from her computer speakers, even though she had muted the sound. It was a woman's voice, cultured and elegant, speaking with perfect English pronunciation. "You've been so dedicated, so talented, so perfect. We've been watching your progress for months, and we're finally ready to invite you to join us." Madison's heart pounded as she stared at her screen. Her avatar stood in the dressing room, wearing the mysterious glowing necklace, while around her the other players continued their strange, synchronized movements. Who are you?" Madison whispered to her empty room, feeling foolish for talking to her computer. "I am the host of the Midnight Fashion Show," the voice replied immediately, as if it had heard her. "The real fashion show, the one that happens when the clock strikes 12 and the veil between our world and yours grows thin." Madison glanced at her phone. It was 11:58 p.m. Every night at midnight, the most talented players are invited to participate in our special show. A show where creativity knows no bounds, where fashion transcends the ordinary, where the most beautiful outfits are rewarded with eternal recognition. The timer in the game continued counting down. 90 seconds left. But Madison couldn't focus on creating her outfit. She was transfixed by the voice and by what was happening on her screen. The other players had stopped moving entirely. They stood in perfect rows throughout the dressing room, all facing toward Madison's avatar. Their usernames were no longer visible above their heads, replaced by numbers, player 1, player 2, player 3, going up into the hundreds. You see, Madison, Dress to Impress is more than just a game. It's a gateway, a test, a way for us to find the most creative, most dedicated, most perfect players. Players like you. The clock on Madison's phone changed to 11:59. In 1 minute, you'll have a choice. You can close the game, turn off your computer, and go to bed like any ordinary player. Or you can stay, participate in our midnight fashion show, and discover what true fashion mastery really means. Madison wanted to close the game. Every rational part of her mind was screaming at her to shut down her computer and run to her parents' room, but she couldn't move. The glowing necklace on her avatar seemed to pulse with hypnotic light, and the voice was so compelling, so convincing. Think of all the time you've spent perfecting your craft, Madison. All the hours studying color theory and outfit coordination. All the effort you've put into reaching fashion goddess rank. Don't you want to see what lies beyond? Don't you want to know what the ultimate fashion experience feels like? The timer in the game had stopped at 30 seconds, even though the countdown clock was frozen. Around Madison's avatar, the hundreds of numbered players began to move again, but this time they were walking toward her character, forming concentric circles that grew smaller and smaller. Madison's phone displayed 12:00 a.m. Suddenly, her computer screen went black. For a moment, Madison sat in total darkness, wondering if her computer had crashed. Then, slowly, a new image began to appear on the screen. It wasn't the familiar DTI interface. It was something entirely different. The screen showed what looked like a grand ballroom, far more elaborate and detailed than any environment in the regular game. Crystal chandeliers hung from a vaulted ceiling, casting dancing shadows on marble floors. Elegant staircases curved up to balconies filled with shadowy figures in elaborate gowns and suits. And in the center of it all was a runway unlike anything Madison had ever seen. It was made of what appeared to be liquid silver, reflecting the chandelier light like a mirror. Along both sides of the runway sat hundreds of figures in the most beautiful, elaborate outfits imaginable. Gowns that seemed to be made of starlight, suits that shifted color with every movement, accessories that glowed with inner fire. Welcome to the Midnight Fashion Show, the host's voice echoed through the ballroom. Tonight's theme is Your True Self. Madison realized that her avatar was standing at the beginning of the silver runway, but her outfit had changed. She was no longer wearing the black dress and cape she had selected. Instead, her character wore the most stunning gown Madison had ever seen, layers of fabric that seemed to be woven from actual moonbeams, jewelry that sparkled like captured stars, and a crown that appeared to be made of crystallized dreams. You have been chosen as tonight's special guest, the host continued. But to truly join our show, you must walk the midnight runway and let us see who you really are beneath all those carefully constructed outfits. Madison wanted to say no, wanted to find a way to exit this strange version of the game. But her avatar began walking down the runway without any input from her. The keyboard and mouse had stopped responding to her commands. As her character glided down the silver runway, Madison felt something she had never experienced while playing DTI before. She felt like she was actually walking, actually wearing the incredible gown, actually feeling the weight of the crystal crown on her head. The sensation was so real that she looked down at herself, half expecting to see the magical dress instead of her pajamas. The audience of elaborately dressed figures turned to watch as she passed, and Madison could feel their gazes like physical touches. Some of them raised gloved hands in elegant applause, while others simply observed with eyes that seemed to hold depths of knowledge and secrets. At the end of the runway stood a figure that Madison somehow knew was the host. She was tall and graceful, wearing a gown that seemed to be cut from the night sky itself, complete with tiny stars that twinkled and moved. Her face was beautiful but ageless, as if she existed outside of time. "Madison," the host said, and her voice now seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You have shown such dedication to the art of fashion, such creativity in your expression, such perfection in your execution. We would like to offer you the ultimate honor, permanent membership in our midnight fashion show." Madison's avatar stopped directly in front of the host, though she still had no control over her character's movements. "What does that mean?" Madison asked aloud, surprised when her own voice echoed through the ballroom as if she were actually standing there. "It means you would become part of something greater than any ordinary game," the host replied. "You would join our collection of the most talented fashion artists ever discovered. You would have access to clothing and accessories beyond your wildest imagination. You would participate in fashion shows that would make earthly runways look like children's dress-up parties." The host gestured elegantly toward the audience, and Madison realized that some of the figures sitting in the elaborate chairs looked familiar. There was a girl who looked exactly like her classmate Sarah, who had mysteriously stopped playing DTI 3 months ago. And there was a boy who resembled her online friend Alex, who had disappeared from all social media platforms over the summer. You see, Madison, the most dedicated players never really leave. They simply graduate to a higher level of the game, a level where the fashion is real, where the creativity flows like magic, where every day is a new opportunity to create beauty beyond mortal comprehension. Madison felt a chill of understanding. Are they okay? Can they go home?" The host's smile was beautiful and terrible. "Why would they want to go home? They're here, in paradise for fashion lovers. They have everything they ever dreamed of." As if summoned by the host's words, the figure that looked like Sarah stood up from her seat and walked gracefully to join them on the runway. She was wearing a dress that seemed to be made of liquid gold, and her face held an expression of pure bliss. "Madison!" Sarah's voice was exactly as Madison remembered, but there was something dreamlike about it. "I'm so glad you're here. It's amazing. We get to create new outfits every single day, and they're more beautiful than anything we ever imagined in the regular game. The themes are incredible, the clothes are magical, and we never have to worry about anything else ever again." "But what about school? What about your family?" Madison asked. Sarah's perfect smile never wavered. "I don't need those things anymore. This is so much better. Here, we can focus on what we love most, fashion and creativity, without any distractions." More figures began standing up from the audience and walking toward the runway. Madison recognized several faces, other players who had disappeared from DTI servers over the past year, all wearing impossibly beautiful outfits, and all with that same blissful expression. "You see," the host said gently, "once players reach a certain level of dedication and skill, they're ready to leave behind the ordinary world and join our permanent collection. You've reached that level, Madison. Your countless hours of practice, your perfect understanding of themes and color coordination, your rank of fashion goddess, all of this has prepared you for this moment." Madison's avatar stood motionless on the silver runway, surrounded by the collected players, while the host waited for her response. The ballroom was silent except for the soft tinkling of the crystal chandeliers and the whisper of fabric as the audience members shifted in their seats. I need to think about this," Madison said finally. The host's expression remained kind but firm. "I'm afraid that's not possible, dear. The Midnight Fashion Show only extends its invitation once. You must decide now. Join us permanently and experience fashion artistry beyond your wildest dreams. Or what? Or return to your ordinary world, but with the knowledge that you'll never again achieve the level of creativity and satisfaction you've experienced tonight. The regular game will feel dull and meaningless in comparison. You'll spend every night hoping for another invitation that will never come. Madison looked around the ballroom at the incredible beauty surrounding her. The outfits were indeed beyond anything she had ever imagined. Gowns that seemed to be woven from Aurora Borealis, suits that looked like they were cut from storm clouds, accessories that appeared to be crafted from crystallized music and captured laughter. But she also thought about her little sister Emma, who always wanted to watch Madison play DTI and who had just started learning to create her own outfits. She thought about her parents, who worried when she stayed up too late gaming, but who also proudly shared her fashion creations with their friends. She thought about her real life, imperfect and sometimes stressful, but full of people who loved her. "I'm honored by your invitation," Madison said carefully, "but I think I need to stay in my own world." The host's beautiful face showed genuine disappointment. "Are you certain? Once you leave, you can never return to this level of the game." "I'm certain." For a moment, the ballroom seemed to freeze. The audience members stopped moving, the chandeliers stopped tinkling, even the fabric stopped rustling. Then the host nodded gracefully. "Very well, but remember, Madison, you have seen what true fashion artistry looks like. The ordinary game will never satisfy you again." The ballroom began to fade around Madison's avatar. The silver runway, the elaborate audience, the magical outfits, all of it dissolved like mist until Madison found herself back in the familiar DTI dressing room. But it looked different now, smaller, less colourful, somehow cheaper than she remembered. Her avatar was wearing her original black dress and cape, but the mysterious glowing necklace was gone. The timer showed 29 seconds remaining, exactly where it had been when the screen went black. Madison quickly finished her outfit and submitted it, her hands shaking as she clicked through the remaining interface. When the round ended, she immediately clicked Leave Game and closed her browser. She sat in her dark bedroom, staring at her blank computer screen, trying to process what had just happened. Had it been real? A dream? Some kind of elaborate glitch or hack? Madison picked up her phone to check the time. It was 12:03 a.m. Only 3 minutes had passed since midnight, even though she felt like she had spent much longer in the mysterious ballroom. She opened TikTok and searched for recent DTI videos, looking for any mention of midnight events or special servers. She found nothing unusual, just the typical outfit tutorials, theme interpretation guides, and Pose 28 recreations. Madison searched online for DTI Midnight Fashion Show and Dress to Impress secret levels. Again, nothing. No forums discussing mysterious invitations. No Reddit threads about players disappearing. No YouTube videos exploring hidden game features. She checked her DTI friend list, looking for Sarah and Alex, the players she thought she had recognized in the audience. Their profiles were still there, but they showed as Last Online, 89 days ago, for Sarah, and Last Online, 156 days ago, for Alex. Madison clearly remembered them being active players before they suddenly stopped appearing in games. Over the next few days, Madison tried to return to her normal DTI routine, but the host had been right about one thing. The regular game felt different now. The clothes seemed less impressive. The themes felt less challenging. And even reaching the podium didn't provide the same satisfaction it once had. She found herself staying up later and later, hoping that another midnight invitation would appear. She tried playing at exactly 12 a.m., tried wearing different combinations of outfits, tried visiting different servers and areas of the game. Nothing worked. The mysterious ballroom never appeared again. A week after her strange experience, Madison was playing a regular round when she noticed a new player in the server. The username was Emma2023, and the avatar looked remarkably similar to her little sister. Madison felt a chill of recognition and dread. Her sister Emma had mentioned wanting to try DTI, But Madison had told her she wasn't ready yet, that she needed to practice more basic fashion games first. As Madison watched, the Emma 2023 avatar moved through the dressing room with surprising skill for a new player. She selected pieces that worked well together, coordinated colors effectively, and even attempted some basic layering techniques. When the voting round began, Madison noticed that Emma 2023 had created an impressive cottagecore outfit. A flowing dress, flower crown, and rustic accessories that perfectly captured the theme's aesthetic. It was better than most outfits Madison saw from players who had been playing for months. After the results were announced, Emma 2023 placed third, which was remarkable for a new player. Madison quickly opened a new tab and called her sister. "Emma, are you awake?" "Madison, it's like midnight. Why are you calling? Are you playing Dress to Impress right now?" There was a pause. "No. Why would you think that? You said I wasn't ready to play yet." Madison felt relief flood through her. "Just checking. Go back to sleep, okay?" "You're weird, Madison. Night." After hanging up, Madison returned to the game, but the Emma 2023 player had already left the server. She tried searching for the username, but it showed no results, as if the player had never existed. The next night, Madison saw another familiar username, Chloe Fashion. Exactly the kind of name her friend Chloe from school would choose. This player also demonstrated unusual skill and created an outfit that perfectly matched Chloe's personal style preferences. But when Madison texted Chloe the next morning, her friend insisted she had never played DTI and had no interest in fashion games. As the weeks passed, Madison began to see more and more players whose usernames and playing styles reminded her of people she knew in real life. Each time, when she checked with the actual person, they denied playing the game. Madison started keeping a notebook, writing down the suspicious usernames and documenting the players' behavior. Patterns began to emerge. The mysterious players always appeared between 11:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. They demonstrated skill levels that didn't match their new player status. Their outfit choices reflected the personal styles of people Madison knew. They never responded to chat messages or friend requests. When Madison tried to find their profiles later, they were always gone. 1 month after her midnight invitation, Madison made a disturbing discovery. She was scrolling through her DTI friend list when she noticed that several of her online friends showed last online times that didn't make sense. Her friend Ashley, who played DTI every day and had texted Madison about the game just that afternoon, showed last online 23 days ago. Marcus, who had been in a server with Madison just the previous weekend, showed last online 45 days ago. Madison quickly sent messages to both of them through other social media platforms. Ashley responded immediately, "Hey, yeah, I've been playing DTI constantly lately. I'm so close to ranking up." "Why?" Marcus replied a few minutes later. "DTI has been amazing this month. I've gotten so much better at outfit coordination. Did you see my Victorian theme look yesterday?" But according to the game, neither of them had been online in weeks. Madison stared at her computer screen, a terrible understanding beginning to form. What if the host hadn't been lying about players graduating to a higher level of the game? What if some players were being moved to the midnight version without even realizing it? What if Madison's friends thought they were still playing the regular game, but they were actually participating in something else entirely? That night, Madison decided to investigate more actively. She stayed awake until 11:30 p.m. and joined a regular server to watch for unusual activity. At first, everything seemed normal. Typical players creating typical outfits for a neon theme. But as the clock approached midnight, Madison noticed changes. The lighting in the dressing room began to shift, becoming softer and more atmospheric. The clothing items seemed to gain additional detail and richness, and the other players, their movements became more graceful, more purposeful. At exactly midnight, Madison's screen flickered, and suddenly, she was no longer in a regular DTI server. She was back in the elegant ballroom, but this time she was sitting in the audience rather than standing on the runway. The host appeared on the silver runway, wearing a different but equally stunning gown. Welcome everyone to tonight's midnight fashion show. Tonight's theme is Hidden Truths. Madison watched in fascination and horror as the players from her regular server walked down the runway. But their outfits had been transformed into the magical, impossible garments she had seen before. The girl who had been wearing a simple neon dress was now clothed in what appeared to be liquid lightning. The boy in basic neon accessories now wore a suit that seemed to be cut from captured rainbows. As each player walked the runway, the host provided commentary. Here we see Jessica's interpretation of hidden truths. Notice how the facade of electric blue conceals depths of cosmic purple beneath. And here is Tyler, showing us that sometimes the most vibrant truths are the ones we hide behind the brightest colours. Madison realised that the players might not even know where they were. They might think they were still in the regular game, participating in a normal fashion round, while something else entirely was happening to them. When the runway show ended, the host turned toward the audience, and her eyes met Madison's through the screen. Ah, Madison. Still observing, I see. Still choosing to remain in the shallow waters when you could be swimming in the depths. Let them go, Madison said firmly. They didn't agree to this, didn't they? The host smiled. Every time they chose fashion over sleep, every time they prioritized the perfect outfit over spending time with family, every time they felt more satisfied by digital validation than real-world connections, weren't they choosing this path? Madison watched as the players from her server began walking back into the audience, taking seats among the other collected players. They all wore expressions of perfect contentment, as if this was exactly where they belonged. You could still join them, you know, the host continued. The invitation remains open. You could stop worrying about these philosophical questions and simply enjoy the pure bliss of unlimited creativity. Madison was tempted. The outfits were truly incredible. The environment was beautiful beyond description, and the players did seem genuinely happy. Would it really be so bad to let go of her ordinary life and embrace this world of endless fashion possibilities? But then she thought about Emma, still learning to put together her first outfits, excited about every small improvement in her color coordination skills. She thought about her parents, who didn't understand her passion for fashion games, but who loved seeing her creativity flourish. She thought about her real friends, who might not share her obsession with DTI, but who cared about her as a person beyond her gaming achievements. The answer is still no, Madison said. The host sighed elegantly. Very well. But I want you to understand something, Madison. Every night, more players reach the level of dedication that qualifies them for our collection. Every night, we grow stronger and more beautiful. Eventually, everyone who truly loves fashion will join us. It's inevitable. Maybe. But until then, I'm going to keep playing the regular game and helping other players enjoy it without. This. How noble, the host said, though her tone suggested she found Madison's choice puzzling rather than admirable. But remember, you can't warn them effectively. No one will believe you. And even if they did, the most dedicated players will continue pursuing fashion excellence until they qualify for invitation regardless of any warnings you might give. The ballroom began to fade again, and Madison found herself back in the regular DTI interface. But this time, she had an idea. Over the next few days, Madison began subtly changing how she played DTI and how she interacted with other players. Instead of focusing purely on winning and ranking up, she started paying more attention to helping newer players improve their skills. She offered outfit advice in chat, complimented creative attempts even when they didn't score well, and began creating tutorial videos that emphasized fun and self-expression over competitive success. Madison also started a new routine. Every night at 11:45 p.m., she would log off DTI and close her computer. She encouraged her online friends to do the same, framing it as healthy gaming habits rather than supernatural protection. Most importantly, Madison began spending more time with her sister Emma, teaching her about fashion and creativity in real life, rather than just in games. They started designing actual outfits together, using Emma's clothes to create themed looks that they would photograph and share with family. Emma's excitement about real-world fashion was infectious, and Madison rediscovered the joy of creativity without competition, of self-expression without judgment, of fashion as play rather than performance. Madison continued playing DTI, but with a different mindset. She focused on having fun, trying new combinations, and celebrating other players' creativity rather than obsessing over her own ranking and star count. The game became enjoyable again, in a way it hadn't been since her early days as a new player. Months passed, and Madison noticed that her midnight observations had changed. The suspicious players with familiar usernames appeared less frequently. The late-night servers seemed more stable and normal. Madison wondered if her different approach to the game was somehow weakening the host's influence, or if she was simply becoming better at recognizing and avoiding the dangerous patterns. One evening, while Madison was playing a cheerful, rainbow-themed round with Emma, who had finally been allowed to create her own account, something wonderful happened. Madison realized she was having more fun helping Emma coordinate her first successful layering technique than she had ever had winning her most competitive rounds. "Look, Madison," Emma exclaimed, showing off her avatar's outfit. "I made the jacket work with the skirt by using the same color for the shoes and the hair ribbon." Madison smiled at her sister's discovery. "That's perfect. You're learning about color echoing. It's one of the most important techniques in fashion coordination. This is so much fun. Can we play together every night?" "Not every night," Madison said, thinking about the host's warning about dedication levels. "But we can play together a lot, and we can also work on real outfits too." As they continued playing together, Madison felt a deep sense of satisfaction that had nothing to do with rankings or scores. This was what fashion should be about: creativity, self-expression, sharing joy with people you care about. She never saw the host again, though sometimes Madison wondered if that was because she had found something the Midnight Fashion Show couldn't offer: the genuine happiness that comes from using your talents to lift others up, rather than just pursuing personal perfection. Late at night, when Madison was tempted to log on for just one more round, she would remember the beautiful, terrible ballroom and the players who had chosen, or been chosen for, eternal fashion bliss at the cost of everything else they had ever cared about. Instead, she would close her computer, check on Emma, and plan tomorrow's real-world adventures. Because Madison had learned that the most beautiful outfit of all was a life well lived, surrounded by people who loved you for more than just your achievements in any game, no matter how magical it might seem. The host had been wrong about one thing. Madison never stopped enjoying regular DTI. In fact, by learning to play for joy rather than just for victory, by focusing on creativity over competition, and by sharing her love of fashion with others in healthy ways, Madison had discovered that the ordinary game could be far more satisfying than any supernatural alternative. And every night, as Madison drifted off to sleep in her own bed, in her own room, in her own world, she knew she had made the right choice. Even if sometimes, in her dreams, she still heard the distant sound of crystal chandeliers and the whisper of fabric made from starlight. Epilogue. 6 months after her encounter with the Midnight Fashion Show, Madison received a message that made her smile. It was from a player named New Player Hope, who had been struggling with outfit coordination. "Thank you so much for your tutorial video about color theory. I finally made it to the podium for the first time ever. DTI is so much more fun now, that I understand how to put pieces together. You're the best teacher. Madison screenshot the message and added it to a folder on her computer labeled Why I Play DTI. The folder was full of similar messages from players she had helped, photos of real-world outfits she and Emma had created together, and screenshots of fun moments from the game that had nothing to do with winning or losing. She never told anyone about the host or the midnight fashion show. Madison had tried once, posting about it on a DTI forum, but the responses had been exactly what the host had predicted. Players either thought she was making up a creepypasta story or suggesting she should stop playing if the game was making her have nightmares. Instead, Madison focused on being the kind of player and community member she wished she had encountered when she was starting out. She celebrated creativity over competition, encouraged personal growth over ranking obsession, and always reminded herself and others that DTI was, at its heart, supposed to be fun. Sometimes Madison wondered about the players who had disappeared into the midnight fashion show. Were they happy? Did they ever miss their ordinary lives, or had they found exactly what they were looking for in that world of eternal fashion bliss? Madison hoped they were content, but she also hoped that somewhere, in whatever reality they now inhabited, they remembered that fashion was just one part of a full life, beautiful and important, but not worth sacrificing everything else for. And late at night, when Madison heard the distant chime of the midnight and felt the familiar pull of the computer screen, she would think of Emma's laughter as they planned tomorrow's outfit, of her parents' proud faces when they saw her latest creative project, of her friends who didn't play DTI but who still valued her creativity and insight. Then Madison would smile, turn off her computer, and choose once again to live in a world where fashion was wonderful, but love was everything. The ordinary world, it turned out, was magical enough.